Hey, Megan.
Hey, I like these commercials. I am so curious. I've read this, I think, in Astara and also elsewhere that they're saying it is easier to process your emotions while you're still in the body, your body's still alive compared to after death. And I can't think why, because I would think when your physical body's gone, it would be easier. You don't have all the physiological conflicts going on.
There's that, but also because of that, it also makes it harder because it's all in your face all at once. So it becomes very easy to get overwhelmed when you leave the body. And so, say you're working through something difficult, you're working through a past trauma, for example. And you're working through it, and you're working through it, it gets a little overwhelming. You can get up, walk away, turn the TV on, talk to a friend. When you're not in your body anymore, it's there and there's no getting away from it. And
Okay, so
so
it's like harder emotionally.
it's just harder to process because it's just so in your face. Yeah. And so the other component of it is that when we leave our body, there's always talk about, we're going to be judged, which is true, but it's mostly that we judge ourselves. And so it's not just that there's an emotion there, but there is a little bit more clarity, and there usually is the tendency to judge yourself a little bit more intensely than you did when you were in the body.
Okay,
So the judgment is you are judging yourself. Like that is the issue. Yeah.
got it.
It's like the being in a body is like you can process things like at a slower pace where it's mm, like it's on a slow cook mode. Like when you're out of your body, it's like we're going to do this all right now, right here, right now. You are going to work through this right now. And we're not always ready for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting thing. Like sometimes if you kind of have practiced processing things when you're in the body, you work through things kind of quickly when you leave the body. But if the person is not very mm, hasn't practiced that a lot, it's not even so much how much you've cleared. It's about like being in this process of like, well, okay, I have an emotion, I got to process it, whatever it is. You get kind of in this like place where you can process things. You can work through it actually relatively quickly, so you take somebody who's been doing that kind of work, they might only be in the emotional body for, a short time, weeks or maybe a few months, where somebody who doesn't process that and was really rigid emotionally, when the time comes, it might take them years, sometimes even decades. It can take quite a while, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched this interesting thing on Netflix about kids who remembered their past lives and
Sure.
what they all had in common. Did you watch that?
No, but yeah, I've
What
been
they all had in
exposed to
common
that.
is they had a very traumatic death and
Yeah,
they had not actually died very long ago. And it made me think, and they were children or very young. Like one was a
right.
pilot in World War II. And I thought sometimes I think I read if you pass when you're pretty young, you start your next lifetime a little sooner. And so it made me think if
Yeah,
they
it's
started
hard for
before,
me
they
to
didn't have
say.
time to process their death, and they're very traumatized about their
Yeah.
death.
Um, yeah, there's all kinds of theories about that. Like sometimes they'll say younger souls have less time in between incarnations. I it would be hard for me to verify. Like I can tap into somebody who's passed usually, but if it's been a while, it starts to even get hard to tap into that. Like it's just, and so like I've seen kids like where they come through with remembering something from their past, but yeah. Usually they had something intense happen, like right as passing or right before they passed, that they kind of re-engaged very quickly. But they have crazy memories though, like weird details that they can really nail. But
Yeah, you might like this documentary. It's called
yeah.
Surviving Death. It's the very last two episodes of it with the
Uh,
kids, and they knew their name, and it was recent enough they could look this all up on the internet and verify all of it. So it was really interesting.
yeah. There was a
But
group, like I don't know if it's those same kids, but there was a small group of kids in Southern California when I was down there, that same kind of thing scenario. And I did a couple of healings on a couple of them, but I couldn't tell you who they were.
yeah.
There was another group, I found this also very interesting, is that it was adults and they had this fetish about amputating parts of their body. And um, it was always weirdly specific. Like they'd get a leg amputated that was completely healthy, by the way.
Oh my
And you
gosh.
go, oh, it's 3 inches too long. It needs to be right here. Like it's
Wow.
not. And you stand there and look at them and you just tap into clairvoyance. It is like most of these are from the Civil War, and some of them are just from another war. Like it's just like they're remembering their war wounds and they're trying to recreate the war wound that they had. And so most of these guys, it was almost all guys, by the way.
Yeah.
They looked like they had just come from the Civil War, but with modern clothes. I mean, it
Oh
was
my
just they
gosh.
just had the same weird bandages, and it's that same phenomenon. Like
So then
they
why
just
haven't they, yeah.
they
Like
just
why haven't we
remembered
processed?
like yeah, certain pieces of it, and they get so fixated on that that they didn't weren't able to process past that. Yeah.
Yeah. So but like between lifetimes though, we just don't get through everything. We still come in with like our stuff.
Oh yeah, we all have things that we're carrying from the past. Theirs was just a bit more obvious,
Yeah.
but we all
So
got
like,
some,
yeah.
theirs we could see them because they're missing a leg sitting in a wheelchair, but I guarantee like something that we do where we interact with certain people or we view the world a certain way or view ourselves a certain way, some of that's from the past. It's not from now. Yeah.
Yeah. So like when I think about my parents who are not, they don't have any evidence they're close to passing, but it just crosses my mind. Um, should I just, because like one of them definitely just zero emotional processing, doesn't even have interest in, working through things and all that. Should I just chant Om Mani Padme Hum from time to time, or
Bless
should I
below
wait
their
till they
feet. Yeah.
pass and chant it, or
Bless
just,
below their feet. Bless
okay,
below
okay,
their feet. Om Mani Padme Hum, either with a dorje or your hands,
yeah,
and bless below their feet. Oh
okay,
yeah. Yeah. The
thanks.
best thing you could do for them.
Okay.